How are we doing, guys? Are we on?
Yeah, we're all good. I think we're all
ready to rock and roll. It's been a while. It's been
a while. And look at your hat. That's fantastic. I have hat envy.
The sun is fully shining in England now. So actually going out, I was at a couple of trees in the weekend, and everyone was asking. I was telling them, they were asking me, what am I up to? And it's like, orchards. That's the orchard and cordial are the two.
Yeah. Well, I need to get a cordial hat. I think that's the way forward.
He was pulling a Justin Sun, I believe, and telling everybody to buy a shitcoin.
Never.
No way. Yeah.
One thing.
Well, it's been a little while, hasn't it, since we recorded the last one? We've been the world has sort of turned upside down slightly for us. It's just been super busy. So we apologise to those people who do watch this as frequently as we try and put them out.
And probably a good point to say that we aren't going anywhere, in that we haven't slowed down in wanting to do these videos. In fact, we were having a conversation last week about how we can actually do more, make more content and get more interactive with this. So we're hoping to ramp it up a little bit more. But yeah, as Chris mentioned, it's been busy, been really busy, and it's just been having that opportunity, especially if we've been doing it on Sundays, to actually sit down and find time with the weekdays as well. But we're coming back on now, so it's good.
Yeah, so re-enthused and refocused and re-energized and stuck in the calendar now as well. So we've got to get it done. But it's only, I mean, everything is a trade-off in life, isn't it? So we've just had to work out how we balance everything from, personal life, family life, Elastos and Orchard, and also Cordial as well, which is our kind of new baby. And then while all of that is going on, looking at CreDA and Filda and Change Finance and the Dragon Alliance, and trying to work really hard with those guys as well, and work out how we fit in. So we've got a couple of things to talk about today. Jochem, what was your number one topic that you wanted to chat about today?
I've got a couple of questions for Sash, actually, because he's our super expert in tokenomics and inflation models. And I know that in no time from now, in a few hours from now, the inflation, the Elastos inflation will go from 5 to 3 ELA per block. And I'm just curious, Sash, to hear your vision about it. So what will that do with, why is it? And why did the council decide to make that change? First big question. And the second question is, what is usually the effect on the dynamics in the market?
Yeah, I mean, the second question is going to be really interesting to see. Well, first of all, the drop in inflation from 1.32 million is dropping down to 800,000 ELA per year, and that's taking place in less than 3 hours. It's 4:30 UK time. So by the time we upload this, we'll either be cutting it really close to it happening, or it would have happened. So it's a big event, and I think people forget as well last year how much of a topic this was. And if there's anything to take away from the first year council, it actually was the fact that they dealt with the tokenomics problem at the time, be it with the burn and the deflationary model. So I guess the big reason for having a deflationary model initially is a case of supply and demand. So at the moment, you've got a supply that's coming through and new ELAs being issued. And I don't think it's actually anything to be too concerned over of having too much, but the problem is that there was no hard cap. So every year, 1.32 million ELA inflation would come in consistently, and it would grow bigger. And now it's not necessarily too much of an issue if you have a couple of tricks in the bag where you have these little burning mechanisms or things to bring down the inflation, but most importantly to have utility where the ELA is being spent like a currency and you're actually using it in all the applications. But a big argument that we had last year was that the Elastos ecosystem is still very young. It's it's a little baby elephant, hasn't quite matured yet, and so in doing so, actually, do we want to have a hard cap, and is there also more good fundamentals to having a hard cap and turning ELA deflationary like Bitcoin? Because what you then do is, by reducing the inflation, making it disinflationary over time, and then saying in our case, in 2105, there's going to be 28.2 million ELA. You can say, well, that's scarcity right there. So there's a desire to want to own it, knowing that today there's more inflation. So if I stake my coins today, I'm going to earn more than I will in, say, 4 years' time, because there'll be a halving event. But actually, in doing so, that ELA will, in theory, become more valuable over time. And this works really well in conjunction with technology as a whole, which is deflationary. So you've got two forces working together. So you've got technology, which is actually becoming more stronger. So the smart web hasn't stopped being developed on, it's getting better and better. We've got our DID sidechain now really coming and starting to show its properties, which is going to be exciting for different technologies, given that it's also a smart chain and can do smart contracts on it. And then you're going to just see all the other pieces of the Elastos get better and better. And whilst that's happening, it's going to create more demand to be on the Elastos smart web. And then you've got not a currency as much so now, but a reserve asset for the Web3. And that's how I like to look at ELA, as a reserve asset for Web3. And that's just scarce. Its issuance is going down over time, and it's also deflationary. So it's two forces coming together, which in the long term, I think will actually do wonders for the price. And also it will attract more users to want to hold on to ELA, especially if it's helping pay some of the gas prices too. And your second question, I can't remember.
I think that you answered both of them already. So
well, it was why, and what's the effect? So yeah. I think on the second part, what's the effect? I mean, can you add some detail about what might happen to the supernodes, for example, or those who are who are currently profiting from the fact there are 5 blocks?
So yeah, it's all hunky-dory to say, oh, it's going to be great. It's hopefully going to drop the supply, price is going to go up, but there are still real risks attached to this. And it's not, make no mistake, this isn't all just smooth sailing. And actually the biggest area of concern initially to look at will be the supernodes, because suddenly they're now having their inflation, they're having their payouts dropped quite significantly, and they're having to cover costs for Amazon or for their own servers, whatever they're using to host the supernode. So if you're low down in the supernode ranking, especially if you're low down in the supernode ranking, suddenly now you need to make your supernode viable, otherwise you're going to sell. And the concern there is you might initially see some supernodes drop off because they just think, what, I'm just going to take my 5,000 ELA and call it. So it'll be very interesting to see the initial reaction. But it's like with Bitcoin as well, you have this initial, with a halvening event, which this isn't actually a halvening. The first halvening is in December later this year. So we're going from 1.32 to 800 today as just a inflation kind of drop. And then we're going to be going from 800,000 ELA to 400,000 in December as the first official halvening. So it creates a very competitive environment for nodes to have to survive, which I would argue is actually very good. Jochem has talked about wanting to introduce a new mechanism for the supernodes to make it more competitive as it is, and also hopefully allow different supernodes to move rankings more often, because right now I think there's a bit of stagnation with the top 32. So then everyone who's below that and now are having to deal with this inflation cut, actually that's going to be quite difficult. But what it does say is that for supernodes, they need to get more competitive and start offering bonuses and offering things that will win over users' votes. And then also for everyone in the community, you have to make sure that you're voting. It takes 5 minutes, but make sure that you're voting for supernodes that you want to stay in and represent and protect the Elastos blockchains, because they are, signing off blocks and they are there to do exactly that, protect. So yeah, that's if I'm looking at a concern, that's the concern, supernodes, and it'll be worth watching it. So elanodes.com, check it out, and we'll see how the next week rolls out there. But apart from that, it's looking good, and I think it's for the best for the ecosystem moving forward.
So I think that if I summarize it in my own stupid Dutch words, then I would say that the fact that we need utility doesn't change, right? So but if we do not get any utility on the side chains, any of the side chains, then Elastos might not exist in 2 or 3 years from now. So utility is still the key driver of success. And at the same time, by making it inflationary and by making sure that you're capped, you actually build in an incentive for people to buy, because if there are a limited number of coins that will enter the market in the future, then why should you buy now? You mean there are more coins coming tomorrow? Well, if it's deflationary, then actually it's more interesting to buy now, because you know that there are less coming onto the market than there are coming onto the market right now. So those are really interesting insights, because still I mean, if we make it to the next council, that also shows, and I think that Song said something very similar, right? That shows that we need to focus on utility. We need to focus on businesses that use the technology, that use ELA in their technology, because that's also what will keep the supernodes interesting. So yeah, very interesting insight. Thank you so much.
In every area, there should be a feeling of competition, because actually with the supply dropping down, we should see the unit price over time start to lift as the new demand comes on. But if you're a CRC candidate, you are earning more today, and you're earning more in this coming year than the next candidates will in the following year. And that will kind of continue. And actually, the more you earn today, the more that will go up in value over time as scarcity is realized. So that's a huge opportunity. Likewise, if you're a developer, the more that you develop or make a product on Elastos today, the more opportunity you have to earn ELA, which is at a lower price today, given that you can earn small transaction fees on your application, or you can charge costs. And then likewise for supernodes, like, you still have a massive opportunity today to earn a load of ELA through your supernode, which if you can just hold to the side as your reserve asset, that too can grow into something huge down the road. So there should be a feeling of real competition to build first, do things first, and get involved as quickly as possible, which hopefully will benefit the ecosystem.
Just a really cool third insight, that now is the moment to start building your applications, because this is the moment where you can make the most in the long run. It's really cool.
For everyone that's just been enjoying just staking in general, you know, for the last 3-4 years, they've had a massive leap start ahead of anyone that's being introduced to it today. But someone getting into it today has a massive leap start over someone who's getting it into the next 4 years when the next halvening happens. So it's just a continuous train which everyone can jump on. But the earlier you get on that train, the better it's going to be. And that's across all.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Sash.
That's really good, Sash. I mean, that's a really good, great sort of passionate and educational example of your knowledge, Sash. So thank you so much for giving it and sharing it with us. I'm still having to take notes, actually, even now, about what's going on. And I've just doodled in the center of my my notepad the wonderful infinity sign, you know, the number 8 on its side. With a line and then 28.2 written underneath it, which I think is going to have to be my new hat when I get that. So take the idea of the Bitcoin infinity over 21 and just turn it into our infinity over 28.2.
It's good. Just a final thought is, obviously the markets have been super volatile, and I don't know if we wanted to talk any on that, and hopefully everyone's managing through it, but certainly this is crypto, it's super volatile. Do I think any projects at the moment are in risk of dying? No, I think this is just part of the cycle we're in. And you know what's going to happen with the halvening or with the inflation drop is there could be a sell-off or it could be a pump. In Fielder's case, when they had their drop, it pumped. But then in Bitcoin's case, it's had a repricing in where it's already been priced in, the price rise, and then there's a drop. So it's any man's guess on what the response is. And
it's really interesting that I don't think it has been priced in at all for ELA yet. But you know, we'll see. But as you say, there are so many other factors like this, the supernodes. Maybe you know that there'll be some that just don't like it, and actually they've run it for a year or two, and they just want their ELA back, and they may either stake it or sell it or put something, put it to some other use. But there's more and more being locked up, I think. So and the idea of a ever decreasing supply is a really good one.
I think in any given scenario, if the price, there's a buy wall in which when the price gets to a certain point, everyone's different, they have different prices in mind, but they're there eagerly waiting and hoping to snap that up, because there's people out there that see the value in Elastos as they do for other cryptos, and if it goes to a certain price level, it will be almost a dream come true again and a redemption to buy more, and it will then spring up. And I find, in the markets like we've seen now, we've had a 50% drop in Bitcoin, which is huge, but it's also presented an opportunity for people to be shook out who got scared, couldn't handle the volatility, and the opportunists to then buy it, which will then probably get put behind when they are never seen again, and then it will, the price will then spring even higher on the next rebound up.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, yeah. So, well, let's get on to markets a bit later. You both mentioned competition and CR candidates. And so I think the next topic has got to be looking at who might the future Cyber Republic Council be. So should we just do a quick run through of some of the new candidates and what we know about them or what we don't know about them still? And I think it's fair to say that we are still running and we are still currently at number 4, I think. But yeah, thank you everyone. But goodness me, last year around this time we were in the top 3, and on the final day, in the final hours, we went from number 1 down to 10 or 11, I think. And you know, everything sort of flipped on its head. So we're all kind of taking it with a slight pinch of salt this year, and we'll see what happens. But
I think eventually, Chris, you need about 300,000 votes to be part of the top 12. So none of the teams are there yet.
No, that's
So
true.
a lot
Yeah,
will happen in the last couple of hours, but we will for sure be chatting and we'll open a beer when we get there.
so I think we've got more people running than we had last year at this stage.
Yeah.
And so even the top 5 all look like they've got around 9 to sort of 8 to 9% of the total vote. So it's shared quite evenly at the top end. But we've got some fantastic candidates. I think let's just pay tribute to Jen Zhu, who unfortunately had to pull out due to a conflict of interest. But you know, what an amazing candidate she was, and I still think that it would be fantastic to bring her into the fold, and if she could ever run again, that would be great news for us. But I think the community demonstrated a real welcome, a really lovely embrace of her actually, and all the new candidates. So again, you know, Elastos community being very friendly and open and welcoming is a wonderful thing to see.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's I mean, for Brittany as well, there's actually some mixed opinions, but I think the correct way to go about this is that with Brittany's like rich background and everything she's done, actually we want to be as warming and welcoming as possible. Because actually,
so what are the anti? You know, what are the people saying who are uncertain about her entry and the negative effect that it might bring to Elastos?
So I think one of the concerns is very little has been said from Brittany, and in that, you know, she's had the 5,000 covered, so it doesn't want to feel like it's just an easy path to get onto the Cyber Republic Council, and really is just wanting to see that she is really excited. But actually, she tweeted about it the other day, and she mentioned this. So I think making the right steps there, and then otherwise it's just uncertainty with her past. You know, with bearing in mind Cambridge Analytica changed the course of democracy, no small thing, and they really did, be it, you know, play with politics in you know, places like Africa, or to the highest level playing with politics with in America. So everything she's doing now would contradict that past. She's got the Own Your Data Foundation, and she's fighting really hard for Web3 and advocating for, you know, all these new technologies. So it's actually, I think from my perspective, it's about giving her the benefit of the doubt and really believing that she is now trying to make a change. And what a great opportunity to have her on the council with us, because it's less about the campaigning, in my opinion, actually, than it is spending a year in a council chat together. 12 other individuals who are passionate, and not only that, but having that person included into all the conversation that's going on in Elastos, and then ideally making someone becoming so involved that they really strive and they feel attached to Elastos and the Web3 to then go really advocate on their own accord. Because in the same way with the Bitcoin community, it's just so much larger. New people are entering and exiting, and it's not such a big deal. But I think because we're Elastos and we're still at like a kind of hatchling stage, we've got to be careful not to become too centralized as a community in our thoughts, and actually be very welcoming to anyone new, and try and spur and educate as much as possible, knowing that if they become inspired, that's a new person in our network effect, and it will, you know, continue to grow. And Brittany, I think, leverages and brings a whole host of background knowledge and experience, which would be so valuable. So really excited.
And also, like, I mean, she's shown actually that, you know, if you want a change, then you need to lead the change, and you need to be the change. And what better way to be the change than be you know, the council of a DAO, right? And this is a very special one, obviously. So being on the council of the Cyber Republic, of the Elastos DAO, yeah, what else do you need to do to show that you want to be that change? Well, I think that, but this is the same for all the council members, by the way, not just for her, but for all of us.
Yeah.
We are here showing that we want to be part of that big change. And so, by the way, also the experience that I had last year, because I did read some negative sentiment about some of the current council members, but really working with them, with each other, and communicating across different channels and different languages at the same time, you do see that all of us really wanted to be part of that change, of making that decentralization happen. And I see the same here in all the people that are running now. We all have a similar kind of passion, and we all want to fight for that change. So Brittany, we covered quite extensively. I think that if we go all the way up the top, then we see a very familiar name, which is Ryan, obviously. The person behind
the strawberries #1 at the moment.
Strawberries are #1, but everyone
yeah.
they've been here and everyone knows them. So one of the new ones is Ryan. Is there any way we can bash him? No.
I don't think there's a need. I mean, I suppose you could argue that there's a debate going on about the pros and cons of having him in it, but but I'd be making it up. He's been a great advocate of Elastos, and is very competent. He's he always gives great answers and advice to the community on Telegram and other sites. So what else do we know about Ryan that we can share?
I mean, well, Ryan's done a nuclear PhD. Probably not doing it any justice. I won't say any more.
Nuclear PhD. Yeah.
But
is nuclear engineering, yeah,
nuclear engineering, and in general, here we are looking at the top leaderboard on his website that he's developed, and he's continuously given to the community, and he's an awesome guy. I just think it's great that we've got him on the community, on the Cyber Council, and what he's really advocating for is to build DeFi applications, and the need for us to bring in this element of the first kind of platform or layer that Elastos needs, because when you have that DeFi layer, you can then start, people can easily, for one, fork contracts and fork the open source code to create more applications, but then you've also got the ability to have launch pads and have all this exciting stuff, because really what the community wants more than anything is just a platform on Elastos they can gravitate to and use and be excited that this is on their Web3, which they've been so excited for years. And we had that with Hyper, and everyone was so ready for Hyper, and it was a big build up, and then it just obviously fell to the ground, and it's going to be picked back up again, but we never really got that release. And for Ryan to be on the council now, I think for his thought process, which I completely agree with, it's about bringing some DeFi solutions to Elastos and seeing how that will have a really positive effect in both giving ELA utility, but also giving the community something to really get behind that's a product and not so much just the Web3 itself, the utilities.
I think very, very strong candidate, and great to see that he's running.
And if you haven't yet read his answers to the interview questions, then you can just find those on elanodes.com and have a look at all of the candidates' interviews. But Ryan's is impressive.
Yeah, big time. Then we've got ELA Cloud, which again, ELA Cloud is in the previous council, and there's mixed opinions on ELA Cloud and their thoughts, but again, most importantly, it's good to have some diversity, and we've got people from all different countries. Actually,
it's very US and China heavy. I mean, very US heavy this time around, actually, or so the location claims.
To be honest, I really enjoyed working with ELA Cloud, and I mean, how much do you really work together? But all the communications with him that I had were very pleasant, and he's a fighter, so he's a fighter and really fights for the best for Elastos. And you don't always have to agree on what is, in your opinion, the best approach. But I really like to be in the same council with a bunch of fighters, because that shows the right attitude.
And he had some really, I think, some good views as well, actually, that challenged debate. So that was good. We're running fourth with 8% at the moment. So we'll see how long that lasts. So it says UK location, but actually, as you know, we've got 2/3 in the UK and 1/3 in the Netherlands at the moment, and just soon to be in Spain. So we're kind of European, I guess. The bridge between the US and China.
Yeah, and guys, thanks so much for all your votes. I mean, it's amazing and humbling to see us already in 4th place. I tend to agree with what Jochem's saying, that everything shifts in the final minutes. And literally last year, in the final 2 minutes, we saw Orchard go from, you know, in the middle to 1st place to then suddenly 13th place, and we were suddenly, you know, bricking ourselves, to then jumping back in and making it on the council. So there's something that goes on that's just a bit nuts at the end. So I hold my breath. But guys, thank you for all your votes so far, and just keep voting and go for Orchard if you want.
Doesn't matter how many either. So, you know, it's just important to exercise your vote. In fact, if you look at it by the number of voters, Sunny is actually in the lead, and then Orchard's coming second with 58 voters, and then the Strawberries, then Ryan, then Brittany, then Donny. So yeah, it's interesting how you look at it, but certainly in terms of votes or percentages, then actually it shifts quite dramatically. So the next new one is Rebecca Zhu. So we all love Rebecca. She's been brilliant actually as the secretariat within the council. So she's very, very close to the council now and understands how it works. And actually, I think as one of 2 women coming onto the council, that would be fantastic too, actually. So we'd have a woman from America and a woman from China, and actually that's got to be a good way to go. What you don't want is just another council full of middle-aged white blokes and Sash.
but don't be mistaken, right? Because she is one of the few people, I think, that on this board or on the leaderboard now, that also understands the technical side of things.
I'm not suggesting that just because she's a woman is a good thing. I'm suggesting that, but I absolutely believe that she's got the technical capability as well. No, I'm delighted to see her there.
I didn't mean it like that. But what
no, I don't not.
Interesting is that you know, you need to have people that understand whether new suggestions are technically possible to implement. And we are good because we've got our advisors, right? So we've got a whole bunch of advisors that we can just call and ask whether something makes any sense from a technical point of view. But she understands that as well. So she also understands from a role as the secretariat to how to judge, you know, things from a technical point of view, which is really good. This is an awesome skill to have.
Which quickly, some people have been asking if Rebecca's running for council, who is going to be the secretariat, and the answer is Rebecca. Unless anyone else applies and they're voted in, Rebecca will continue as secretariat. She actually asked the first-year council what we all thought of it, and you know, everyone was actually very positive and saying it's absolutely fine. And yeah, I think I mean, what do you guys think?
I don't think there's any conflict there personally. I mean, it's an administrative role that needs to exist, and actually she is the most capable person for doing it.
The only thing would be that she pays herself and then leaves. It's up a big 50k ELA suggestion and then disappears into the sunset, which I don't believe is going to happen. So
I'm not sure that will happen, but I'm sure there are enough people who know where she lives.
No, so in general, there's looking like she'll be doing both roles. And guys, leave some comments and let us know what you think. Do you think that's okay? As I say, Rebecca asked us as a council, we all thought it was fine, but as a community, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I haven't seen anyone else volunteer for it yet either. So
yeah, look, I think that if there is a conflict of interest, it's so small that really doesn't matter. I
mean, I don't see there being. I mean, not really. I mean, she can't alter the votes or anything. So
no, and everything is registered on the blockchain, right? So she can't just take 50,000 ELA. That's just not possible because you know there's blockchain in between, so that should be fine.
So well, anyway, we're delighted that Rebecca is running, so that's really good news. Sunny is next on the list, and then but you know, people know Sunny, and you know, we have to praise Sunny, of course.
Sunny doesn't vote for himself, eh? So that's the cool thing that I find it so cool about
on this occasion. Yeah, he said that he won't, and he'll keep to that word. And you know, looking at the rankings, he's got the most voters, so he's got 7 voters. So whilst he's in 6th place for actual amount, for the quantity, he's actually in 1st on the amount of people who have voted for him. So I mean, that says a lot as well about community support.
Yeah.
I think everyone wants Feng to be on the council.
It would be great. Yeah, I mean, it would be really good. So we mustn't, yeah, don't be too lazy about voting for people like Feng just because you think that they're on the council. I mean, I just advocate that, you know, just get some votes down there for candidates like him.
Yeah.
Donny is the next on running in at number 7 at the moment. So I mean, a lot of people know Donny. He's been behind the scenes since the very start. Slowly emerges every so often, tweaks the curtain and pops out in the community. And actually, when he does so, I think he's a very competent speaker on behalf of Elastos. He's got gravitas, he's got knowledge, he's been working with the EF since the beginning. And now as the CEO of Tomb Technologies, has a number of really good projects running that totally support Elastos. So he will be able to provide advice into the rest of the council in a more formal way as to what makes what would make a good proposal and why, really. So I think when it comes to voting, having him on board will be really helpful.
Yeah, Donny's got my vote. Donny puts the bull in bullers and the bull.
I love that. Oh, there's a new slogan for your hat, or certainly Vegas to do a bit of a meme on that one.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's awesome. Always advocating, always pushing forward. Tomb Tech are going to be the consensus equivalent of Elastos, and there to help support development. They're already doing great things, and they're a friend from the West. So
yeah, definitely.
I think it's great that he's run, because originally he said he wasn't, and now he's in. And it's
I think I heard a rumor. I don't know whether it's true or not, that he said he'd run if Brittany said she'd go, and Brittany said she'd run if he said he'd go. But
I mean, it was shortly after, so that probably is right.
Maybe, who knows? But I think, you know, having them both involved in own your own data, and Donny's particular involvement with the WEF as well, and his network there, which we'll be able to leverage even more. Yeah, he's a must candidate.
You have to have people who, you know, really do care about the Elastos Web3 and technology and have been fighting for years. And Donny's a leader in the space, I think. So,
and he's got KP sat on his shoulder as well. We mustn't forget about KP, who's there. And, you know, are they partners in Tomb Tech? And actually, you know, in terms of some of that technical advice, Donny's very good. But, you know, with KP there as well, then I think that can only add value.
Yeah.
So that's really good news. And then we've got Mark Zing. So Mark is definitely new into the Elastos community space and also into this race as well.
I mean, Ron jumped in on the community chat recently, last week, and just out of nowhere kind of said, I'd like to introduce Mark Zing and the team. And so the actual venture capital firm is called, so it's called Capital 6 Eagle. I believe they're a mix between US and China, and I think it's Seattle based and then within Asia. And some of the guys in it, you know, very well respected, but also very well known in the space. And Mark came on saying, you know, this is quoted, "I believe that Elastos is the infrastructure of the metaverse. Rong Chen has an extremely deep understanding of internet computers and Web3. And then he went on to talk about some of the people within the Capital 6 Eagle VC fund, and some of the founders, one being Peter Vessenes, founded the Bitcoin Foundation in 2012 with over 10 years of experience. And then another guy called Ying Wu came to the, I'm just reading quotes here, came to the US with $16 in 1984. On March the 3rd, 2000, UT Starcom was listed on NASDAQ. Ying is the first billion-dollar project invested by Masayoshi Son in China, and Jack Ma got Masayoshi Son first investment in Ying's office. So Jack Ma being the founder of Alibaba and Ant Financial. So I mean, some big guns coming onto the council here, and really exciting.
It's so exciting, and that's what we kind of predicted last year. And I think, you know, Jochem, you've talked about the value of teams coming on board as well. And in fact, in time, we think it may only be teams that can afford to be on the council. But I think Mark
not
and,
just
and
affording-
Capital 6 Igor would be a fantastic team to have represented in our space.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you. And it's not just affording in terms of finances, but also in terms of time, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, we sometimes even struggled, and we're a team of 3. Imagine how difficult it is to be a team of 1. It's extremely complicated, knowing that there's so much information that's thrown at you, and that you need to process and understand. And you don't just want to do whatever vote, you want to do a good job. So yeah, and that's obviously going to be a really interesting team to have on the council. So
Yeah, I mean, let's hope they can get a decent following behind them as well. And again, they will act as a bridge between East and West, which I think is always useful. You know, the more collaboration and the understanding that we can build, the better the possibilities of the outcomes of this project.
Yeah. Basically, I think what's really nice is Mark has been also just on the community chats quite a lot, actually interacting with the community, and I think that's everything anyone wants. It's just to kind of understand the personality and who it is that's actually joining us. And he's very positive about Elastos and what he's had to say. And I think we'll bring, as Rong had mentioned, you know, a wealth of information which will help us. So with them on the second year council, that's extremely exciting.
I know. Wow, it's amazing to think the second year council. Goodness me! I mean, forever we'll have you know, first council, but it's so early. I mean, you talked earlier about, you know, the early adoption and the benefits of buying into crypto at an early stage, but the benefits of investing now in time as well as finance into projects like this, I think are you know, beyond people's wildest dreams in the future. You know, to say to your grandkids that you were there at the start of Bitcoin or the start of Elastos or anything else will be great.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, we've spoken about Brittany, so I don't know if we want to do any more there.
Yeah, we jump over Brittany in a sort of a conceptual sense, I think,
because it ties really nicely into the Info Bros.
Yeah.
Alex Ship and TI, and actually they did a write up for the CR Press where they were saying similar thoughts, Chris, on remember just how early and how advanced our DAO actually is. What we're doing here is, like, you know, really at the cutting edge of new technologies, and it's pretty amazing to see that, yes, we've done the first year and we're moving into the second, and 2 weeks ago everyone was worried that there wasn't going to be any people on the council, and here we now have the most people we had from the previous year with a really good strong list. So, you know, I think it's just great. I'm really positive moving forward.
It's very wise, actually. I mean, I think there was a lot of FUD surrounding it a week before the elections opened, and that's typical of this space. I mean, I think there's just general nervousness. It's skittishness, actually, as I think is sort of best described, and actually just needs a calming hand every so often. And actually, some of the more senior people coming onto this who've been around Elastos for a while and the blockchain space for a while will be able to bring that as well. So there is nervousness in this because it's new, but as you say, cutting edge, bleeding edge technology. And I think, you know, when we consider that and what we're doing as Elastos, I think it's so important to just remember that things are not going to be as smooth as they might be if we were a big corporation with a big marketing department or a big R&D department. You know, we're with well-known and tested science and technology. You know, this is all so new to everybody in this space. Actually, it's no wonder that some projects accelerate for a bit and then stagnate for a little bit. But actually, I think as a general opinion, if you look at who is still around from the 2017 peak period, which projects are still around, which are still building, which have got teams and communities that are really keen to drive forward their vision, those are the ones that you've got to watch out for. And Elastos is well and truly in that spot right now, in that it's still undiscovered, in my view, and the pricing does not reflect what we have done. And even the DAO itself is so much more advanced than many others. Yeah,
no, you're completely right. It's a blue ocean project, and that everything is new and it's exciting. And I mean, an honest reality is that everything in the crypto space is just experiments. Thousands of experiments going on, and Some are going to fail, some are going to succeed. And just because you see others ahead of you and you think, well, they're going to go on to do so well, guaranteed that was the same thought process that happened in the 90s and 2000s with internet startups. Some of the hottest startups you thought were, you know, destined to go on and change the world ended up failing. And this is just the way it is. And actually, what's more important than anything seeing the blockchain space, which flips everything on its head, is the community and the element of a DAO in which you can continuously iterate and you can make the technology better, rather than having more of a top-down structure of this is the way it works and this is the way we're going, because sometimes that's not always the right answer. And actually decentralizing and navigating as a hive mind and being open and having a really diverse council and having different opinions. The reason that we liked, and I think Jochem, you'll probably agree, especially on this, is with the Info Bros, Alex and TI ran as individuals before, and now they're running together. And I think that's, you're getting two for the price of one. It's super, you know, they as two people who have been in the space for so long with a whole breadth of knowledge will offer so much value, but they will also have to find consensus within each other. So you kind of have consensus within consensus, and that's something which we've really appreciated this year, in that we don't always agree with each other, and we will then have this kind of dialogue where we'll, you know, put out our cases and why we're for and against, and then we'll end up having a vote which then determines the end result, and that's so valuable as well. And that's clearly kind of the direction we're moving in here. And so Alex and TI coming together, I think, is brilliant, and
really good news. Yeah,
have more good minds in the council as a whole when you have more teams,
because they've got relationships that stretch across the Elastos community as well, you know, from Rongchen and Sunny, you know, right the way through to the community that they interact with almost on a daily basis.
Yeah, so
really good news. So who else is new? Sungjung Son is number 12 there, I think, at the moment. He's a great guy, actually.
Jing Yu at 11 then. Jing Yu leading the Trinity Tech team, I believe, on blockchain side of things, which an amazing addition. I mean, the conversation we've had with Jing Yu, he seems extremely knowledgeable on the engineering and technical side. So what do you guys think to that? I mean, I think there's positives to be taken.
Yeah, we've done at least one interview with him, right? And for him and Song, same. I mean, those guys are working machines, right? I mean, Jingju joined our webinar, you know, last year, and it was 4 a.m. in the morning there, something like that, something crazy like that, and he's just there doing his best, and I really appreciate that from those people that are there. Machines.
Yeah, and with the history as well with the Elastos Foundation, as far as Rong's work prior to, you know, 2017 and everything he was building and working on, these guys are coming from the past. So I think they also have a deep understanding of Rong's philosophy and where he's moving, and they're still with him to this day. So I think there's something really nice to be taken there, knowing that, you know, someone like Jing Yu would be on the council.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's just full of great candidates, actually. We've got the Elation Studios, which they're very new on the block, actually. Well, in terms of this race, certainly. But they've put a really good interview forward, I think, that talks about what they want to try and do. So it's Troy and Fakul, and they both work at Morgan Stanley, or JP Morgan, yeah, Morgan Stanley, and have been working there for, you know, between, I don't know, 10 and 15 years each. They've got lots of experience in that banking industry. And then actually, when you start to combine that with their economics and their data analysis and their understanding of DeFi, or their learning, certainly, and understanding about that, I think it makes them really interesting candidates. And they are guys that can see the benefit of Elastos too, you know, so they're well and truly behind the vision that is shared by Rong and Sunny, and actually I'm really pleased to see them on the on this list, actually, and fighting for a place now.
Yeah, I've had some good chats with Fox, and he, I mean, yeah, really good guy, London based, kind of know all the places where he's working and everything that he's doing and can understand how grueling that work is as well, and how it's takes a long time to even get to the positions that they're in. And they're talking about wanting to take leaps further into Elastos wherever possible. And this is one of their first leaps that they're looking to take, where the promise that they're giving is to really focus on marketing and media and actually bring something which can help spread the word of Elastos out there. And I think if we were to go through each name and summarize, we could kind of give an attribute that each member would bring. And I believe that Elation really wants to bring that marketing side. So if you guys are in support, check out the CR Press. The article, I'll leave it in the description, and we'll leave all of them in the description as far as the CR Press, and you can just go through the site and see everyone's, and check it out, because that's their promise. And I know there's always a big call in the community for marketing, and that's something which they might answer for you.
Yeah, and I mean, it's more than, I think it's about effective communication in the round, and not marketing as such, but actually just their expertise that they're bringing in that area and in marketing per se, but also just driving performance, that really that the difficult and tight environment of that banking world that they're coming from, where they're really passionate and they're going to drive for success. I think, and also they are used to handling some big budgets as well. So they understand the sort of macroeconomic side of it as much as the micro. So yeah, I'm really behind them. I think they're going to be, I mean, if they can get on the council, that would be fantastic news actually, and would really benefit from their core competencies.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who else have we got then?
So the next one, I just Google translated it. It's the Chinese community.
Oh yeah, okay.
Chinese community, the Iron Fan. I've got no idea who they are. There might be the community reps from the Chinese community, but honestly, I don't know.
Yeah, we don't have, there's really not much information on them as well. So I guess if there's anyone out there that is communicating with them, I guess we should say, if they want to really secure a position and move up from 14, then going back to that last point about Elation Studios, they've got to effectively communicate with both sides and not just their own.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure people who have votes to spare would want to give them to candidates that they understood. It's just the fact that might not understand what they're standing for.
Yeah.
Just adding on that, now's the time to be fighting. If you're especially in, you're not in the top 12. As it gets close to the time, there's going to be people that are going to say, well, I'm not sure they're going to make it, so I'm going to redirect my votes to some of the other candidates which I really want to ensure are in. So yeah, like for all these guys from 13 to 17, I think they have there's a real importance to try and start being vocal. And the CR Press is probably the best way initially to get your voice out there, because it's being published. But fight, you got to fight.
Big kudos, by the way, to the team of CR Press, right? Because they're doing an amazing job again here, and we've mentioned them a couple of times, but we haven't really, shared that with our community. But yeah, they're doing a really good job and gathering all the information about the candidates and publishing it. So
yeah, amazing work.
It is amazing what happens, isn't it? I mean, when you just see the community just taking on these little jobs, I say little jobs, they're not. We know how grueling this kind of thing is, but it's just wonderful. Everybody's got a talent. Everybody is an expert. That's what we were talking about with Cordial recently. Yeah. And so, everybody can do something, whether it's just driving some passion by following a particular tweet through the community, or whether it's running one of these or standing for election. Everybody can contribute somehow.
Yeah,
and I agree. Yeah, we should definitely give them kudos to Michael and Dave and a few others who have, really getting behind that.
Yeah, big time. Yes, they've been working really hard, and it's a massive, bonus to be reading through everyone's writings and understanding what they believe and what they'd like to see. So yeah, big shout out to CR Press there. Who have we got next? We've got Zhang Feng.
Yeah.
I personally don't know all too much, but he has got a CR Press interview. So again, worth having a good read of that. I haven't got around to that.
Yeah, he's a lawyer, isn't he? He's been the lawyer for Elastos, I think. Is he not on the...
He was on the council before the first council that was voted in.
That's right, yeah. So the temporary council.
Yeah. But otherwise...
we've got two other ones. Green Zhang, I know him from some of the WeChat groups. I mean, if it's the same person, but again, shout out to him as well. Make sure that you know you get your story published on the CA Press. But he usually is quite sensible in those groups. Obviously, I do everything with the auto translator, so I don't always understand everything. But seems like a very, very credible guy. And then the last one is Lao Mao, who is one of the more senior Chinese community members, and has been with Chinese community since the start. And he's done a huge number of write-ups, more academic style write-ups as well in Chinese. So he's a very credible person as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, he graduated with a major in theoretical physics from Institute of Physics, Chinese Academy of Sciences.
Hello.
And a master's degree in condensed matter physics. But he's also, worked as a chief financial officer, engineering department of a state-owned enterprise. So, a lot of work in terms of research and project establishment and business operations. And yeah, is passionate about the technical vision of the architecture for Elastos.
Yeah, he had some really good writings he did last year, and actually inspired me personally, especially the burn proposal. He had some real thoughts on, the importance of the uncirculating supply and dealing with that. And yeah, I think it's great. He's known Feng for many, many years. And generally speaking, I hope he gets higher up in the rankings. And I personally wouldn't mind seeing him on the council just for his background and understanding. But I could only see it being a positive with him being around.
Yeah.
So great to see him jumping on.
Absolutely.
So I won't ask you to name your top 12. I think that would be too hard, actually, because it would be really difficult at this stage. We'll just have to let it roll out. But we've got 17 great candidates there. I mean, more if you add in the individuals in the teams.
Yeah.
And a good mix, actually. It's balanced, actually, between I guess East and West, if you like. We've got and South Africa and a Europe thrown in there as well. But yeah, well, 2 from the UK.
It's looking great, guys, and we've got 2 days and 18 hours left at this time. Obviously, check out ELA notes for the countdown, but it's coming around. So get your votes in. Please do vote for Orchard if you'd like to see us represent you for another year. There's definitely going to be a year for us, I know, where we're not going to get through and we're going to be really disappointed, but it's going to just be a reality of the changing council, and it's a natural process. So if we don't get in, it is what it is, and we'll be always fighting for the vision and always here. But if you would like to see us on this year, and we'd love to, just make sure to chuck us some votes, because as we've mentioned, in the final minutes, things just get wild. And actually, I think all those little votes really do count.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. I've just noticed that the inflation adjustment from 5 to 3 ELA per block is now less than 2 hours away. So 1 hour and 45 minutes from now, which is kind of 5:15 in the UK on Monday evening. So yeah, by the time we get this uploaded, it will have happened. And actually, it's another really big milestone in Elastos's progress.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing that we as a council decided upon is going to happen by the end of the year, 182 days, which is the extra halving. So within a year, we will go from 5 ELA per block to 1.5 ELA per block. So those are pretty significant changes, huh? Wow.
Well,
yeah, they really are.
Yeah, it's definitely on the extreme side. I think so the original suggestion that I put forward for the deflationary model and just going deflationary, it was more as an incremental deflation opposed to like big 4-year block halvenings. And where I would put us on the model I did was around year 8 to where we will be at, as far as halvening goes, to where we will be now with your pings model. So the end of this year, we will be at year 8 equivalent of your
model. Yeah, I know. I mean, we definitely preferred the sort of the slow and steady drawdown. But hey, if you're going to do it, I mean, if something's inevitable, just do it anyway.
Yeah, and from a programming side, I think
that's correct.
Easy. But yeah, no, certainly exciting to see how this all plays out. And yeah, it's all coming around, and it's nice to see that it's all been coded and it's happening. I mean, it's no easy feat in itself.
Yeah, and there's so much work going on behind the scenes. Well, guys, I think that's probably all we've got time for today, actually. I know that...
one more thing. What do you reckon? We could cover a little bit on CREDA.
Okay, yeah, a little bit on CREDA. But Jochem, don't you have to go in a minute, or is that now?
Well, I mean, if we get to talk about CREDA a little bit longer, then we'll do that.
Okay, brilliant. All right, great.
But maybe we can do it in five minutes max.
Okay. Okay.
Then we'll make sure that everything is time stamped, and then people can just fast forward if they want. So yeah, CREDA. What I really like personally about the whole CREDA approach is that we get to test it together. So when you build the software, what you don't want to do is kind of like the old style, the style in the early 2000s, where you would try to build a finished product and that's what you present to your users, to us, or to your community. So how you develop software eventually and applications is that in the ideal world is that you push it out there in an alpha version, you get people to test it, you get the feedback in, and with that feedback, you take it to the next level. So that's also the route that the CREDA team is taking, and that allows you to very quickly test your prototypes, rapid testing pretty much, test it, get feedback in, and improve it. So I think that the next version will be launched on the 9th, so that's going to be fairly soon. And I personally really like that approach, because if you try to aim for a finished product first, then you run the risk that maybe the UX is not good enough. Maybe you spend way too much resources on just one element, and you're missing out on things that you just haven't seen yet because you haven't tested it first. Maybe there are whole new applications that you haven't discovered yet that you could get from the community. And we've got a community of around 500 people. 500 people you can trust, right? These are all people that want to try out, they want to invest. Well, the investment will come later. They want to try it out, they want to play around with it, they want to give feedback. And that's a huge luxury, right? That's a huge luxury if you build software, because you've got people you can trust that can give you some feedback. Big thumbs up there, by the way, for Greg and Nancy as well, I believe. So in the admin group, Greg made this whole Google Doc with feedback to the team, and the team is using that then to further optimize the product. So he's done an absolutely awesome job there, and Sash as well, by the way. The only thing that I think that happened that went wrong is that went something wrong in the communications, because what many community members, myself included, is we expected the product that was far further than this alpha stage.
Yeah.
So everyone was ready to start earning some CREDA and start buying some CREDA, and we're just not there yet. So I think that was a bit of a point of improvement, but the process itself and the opportunity to, with your community, test quickly, optimize it, and then push out the next version, that process is pretty cool, and I think it's pretty cool to be part of that, actually.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And just to allay anybody's fears, there is a small Telegram group with admins in it that is talking through to the Chinese teams almost on a daily basis. So, we've been able to do that through Cassie and others. And actually we've been quite frank about, how difficult it's been in some cases to be able to put forward and support these ideas that we don't understand. We need to be given the information before it's just launched or the website comes online. And so yeah, it's been trickier than we would have liked, but I think it is a learning curve for everybody involved. And as you say, Jochem, we cannot get around the fact that actually it's very beneficial to get this stuff out early and test it with the community and come back again. But could we have done it? Could we all collectively have done it a bit better? I think so, yeah. And actually, we're all going to learn from that. So the next time around, we're going to get a bit more warning, I hope, about what's going to be happening and what the outcomes of that trial should be. And it won't mean stress and late nights for some of the people like Greg who were pulling their hair out, trying to make it all happen, but without the right answers, because we just didn't have any. So yeah, kudos hugely to those people who were in the community.
I think you're right. I mean, Greg Godzilla, Netchi, and
yes, yeah,
Frosty as well, Frost, just all been really, really handy, and just taking a lead on it. And I think from their perspective, they don't understand the applications prior as much as they're learning on the fly and trying to communicate back. So quite a stressful job on the first round. And I think the first round in the release that we had everyone came out the expectations like they Builder, that we came up with Builder, which was, we learned that with Builder, the day one being there and ready with the high APYs is the best opportunity you can have, and every day counts initially. So it was everyone there ready for a beta which wasn't ready, and just, you know, caused a whole load of problems. But really, it's a nice opportunity for the Elastos community alone, just the Elastos community, to get to trial this. And actually, it's going to be a case of tweaking it as we go. So all the feedback and everything being provided is so helpful for the teams.
I think it's important to remember that those people that have greater answers than the majority, so the people you've mentioned there, they're still volunteer community members. You know, they're not part of any formal association. And actually they're just trying to do their best job as well. So, you know, for anyone that wants to be angry or frustrated with it, then actually, I think you just have to take a collective deep breath and just go, look, you know, the expectations weren't as we expected, but you know, we just have to learn from it and give a little bit of space to those guys who are trying really hard, you know, like you, Sash, and the other team members, to just pass and communicate what is going on, which is very difficult at the best of times when you've got different time zones, different languages, different views about how a product should be launched or not, and different expectations. So yeah, I mean, I've got huge respect for everyone that was involved in those communications at that time.
Yeah, and the engineering. I mean, what's being set out here is actually huge. And you know, Feng has said very, you know, boldly that this is taking on the big, you know, AMP Financial and taking on the big guns, which are, you know, going into $1 trillion industry. So really, the vision that CreDA has is massive, and you can't just expect for it to have this new innovation and code being developed to just be ready on day one. It's an iteration project, and you're going to see it continuously iterated. And the next big iteration we're going to see is now in 2 days. So on the 9th of June, we are going to get beta version 2 coming out, and we'll get the chance to test that and offer some more feedback. Yeah. But again, it's important not for everyone to expect it just to be, you know, the final product as much as get closer.
I think that is the important line there, isn't it? It's just, you know, take it as an experiment, as you mentioned. You know, every single project out there is an experiment, actually, and you know, we are learning an awful lot about what we can use for Cordial too. So I think that's really important for our own design, both in terms of the tokenomics, and we've been looking at some of those other projects that surround that in that Dragon Alliance, like Change.finance, and also about how you communicate and build a community, and how you launch your beta and how you test it in this, what's effectively a really privileged space of having a trusted community that can throw ideas back at you and tell you it's rubbish, or tell you that's great, or say, look, it would be good if this could happen. And that's what we want when we start throwing our initial MVPs around for Cordial as well.
Yeah, big time. Jochem, did you have any thoughts?
No, I fully agree with you.
And that's lovely. Well, I think we've taken our 5 minutes, eaten it, and probably used a bit more time as well. But I think
it's fine. We're making up for time lost previously.
Yeah, that is true. I think there's 3 good topics though: inflation adjustment, the council, and we've run through some of the new members that are trying to get a place, and CreDA as well. So yeah, those are big meaty things. And I think, you know, next week we can talk a little bit more about what we're doing in Cordial, where we are with that perhaps, and also by then we will have some great news about the council and about where we're going, and you know, driving forward with some new interviews, I think, and understanding more of the people who are on the council or hoping to be on the council.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. I mean, I think we've also been talking about getting guests on and doing some orchard calls where we just get people on from the community and basically, who would you guys like to see? You know, we've got some people in mind, but leave in the comments your thoughts and just at us on Telegram and let us know, because ideally we can start inviting people on and having some conversations, and you know, the council members themselves could come join us and talk about what they plan and just their thoughts about their experiences.
Yeah, so from council members, you know, internal community members as well, you know, people who you see the name of in the community all the time and you think, I wonder, you know, who that person is. We, you know, if they're happy to come on, we're happy to talk to them. And also we've got a couple of external guests lined up already, actually, that will be supportive of what we're trying to do with Orchard and what we're trying to do with Cordial as well. So yeah, we've got a lot of people, and one of our own team members, George, who we want to introduce to you all as well, will come on. And you know, he is talking tomorrow at something called Colloquium, which is a large conference. Oh my goodness me! We'll put the link in below anyway. So if you've got time and you can attend that, I don't have the details on me, but he's asked to speak at that. And he'll be doing that, looking at decentralized finance, owning your own data, and how data might be used for universal basic income. I think that's the topic of his conversation. And there's an amazing economist called Jeffrey Sachs, who's going to be adjudicating his panel. And George is also writing an article for Forbes magazine for next week as well. So I mean, you know, the guy's all over it, and you know, we're so happy to have him on our team.
He's very good.
So we'll get him on as well, and we can interview him. That would be good.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've been sharpening our blades, and again, this 5 minutes is turning into 20.
Yes.
So we've been sharpening our blades, and Cordial's coming along, and we've got these 2 tracks we're now thinking about, and obviously George's background experience is just helping so much on this. But I think George should be one of the first people we definitely get involved.
Yeah.
As I say, just leave thoughts and let us know.
Leave some comments. And then what we can do is draw up a list, you know, with your help. I think that would be the way forward, and then we'll get people on as you want us to.
Oh yeah. All right, guys.
Yeah. Okay. I think it's probably time then. But our 30-minute call has lasted well longer than that. And but you know, it's so much fun. And we're not in the office anymore. This is the only chance we, you know, or one of the chances we get in the day to have a proper conversation as well, because we learn stuff all the time from these.
Yeah, loving it, loving these calls, and hoping we can just do more and more. And
maybe we should get some live streaming going on as well, so people can actually you know, text in questions and stuff. That would be quite fun.
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so if you're still with us and watching, let us know your thoughts, what you'd like.
Yeah, exactly. We'll timestamp it, don't worry. You can skip right to the end.
Yeah. All right, guys.
Okay, nice to see you all, and well, speak soon. Speak to you tomorrow. Okay,
best
guys.
of luck to all candidates, and next time we speak, it will be a new chapter for the council and for our tokenomics. So
yeah, well said, Sash. Thank you.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.